Looking for a college that feels like home and opens doors? Welcome to St. Cloud State, where Huskies come from all walks of life to chase big dreams. From small-town Minnesota to across the globe, SCSU is a place where everyone belongs. Whether you're into esports, student orgs, or cheering at D1 hockey games, there's always something happening on campus. And the best part? It's affordable, so you can focus on your future, not your finances. Come see it for yourself. Schedule your campus tour at St. Cloud State University, the home of the Huskies. Let's go Huskies!
For the Indians, one run on, let's see, one hit. That's all. We got one goddamn hit.
You can't say goddamn on the air.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
From the Gateway Lounge in Sioux Falls, it's Nobody's Listening Anyway. Here are your hosts, John Gaskins and Matt Zimmer.
Matt Zimmer, how the hell are you? Been a couple of weeks. Good to see you. Are you as not excited to see me as I'm not excited to see you?
Jeez, thanks. I couldn't wait to get back here. I've missed you. Spent my whole vacation thinking, geez, when can I be back on Happy Hour with John Gaskins?
I know you were. I was spending my whole vacation over the weekend doing the same thing. Boy, I just can't wait to be back sitting next to Zim. By the way, I don't think either of us, I don't think we could have had more different types of 4th of July weekends than what we had. We both spent time with our families and our fathers, which was great. You go ahead and tell yours first. I saw some of it online, just a very lakeside
just
4th of July.
Just went to the lake, a lot of beer and grilled food and fishing and blowing up things and hanging out with the kids.
Yeah.
It was fun.
It looked like a lot of fun. We were in the quintessential American 4th of July haunt of San Francisco. It's not, but it was, I mean, I think you would have enjoyed it. For one, it was in the 60s the whole time. But, yeah, it was my dad's 80th birthday, and he lives a couple hours away. And his wife and her two sons, who are about my age, one of them brought their wife along. I brought my husband along, and a lot of incredible food. San Francisco. Have you been?
I've not.
San Francisco.
I've not.
I mean, I know you've seen plenty of pictures and videos. Just the architecture, the scenic beauty. Like I said, temperatures are always mild and wonderful, and it feels like a different place. It feels like how I picture Paris would be, but in America.
Was it your first time being there?
No, I've been to San Francisco several times. But you're gonna laugh?
I couldn't help myself.
You couldn't help it. Yeah, I know.
I tried not to.
I lived. Because it's gay, right? Gay things. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Yeah, there was some of that too, but it's just like San Francisco as a whole. That's only one slice of San Francisco.
Right.
It's an amazing city, and I recommend everybody to go if you haven't been. Just because it is beautiful, it is cultural, it is artistic. We just happened to be there when there was a thing called the Fillmore Jazz Festival, which sounds like it's all jazz, but it's kind of like the Sioux Falls Jazz.
Jazz Fest in Sioux Falls.
It was, 5 different stages, a mile long block of Fillmore Street, where the famous Fillmore Auditorium is, one of the most famous music venues in the world. And 5 different stages, and there's funk over here and rock over here and actual old-timey jazz over here and blues over here, and totally free. You just walk up and down the streets, vendors, and yeah, it was a good time. But here we are. And then I get home, I get this respite from these 85, 90-degree days. I think respite's the right word. You're the wordsmith here. 85, 90. Humid. It was an escape. It's 55 when you wake up, and never got warmer than 67 degrees the whole time. It was like autumn in the middle of summer. Mm-hmm. It was great. It was a great time to go there because of the weather we have here. We get home and our AC's broken. For 3 days. We are in line. We have another 72 hours to go of it being 83 degrees in our dwelling with fans blowing. Good times.
That's no fun.
Yeah. So we've got some things to get to. I think we're turning the page. It kind of feels like, hey, you're the sports editor of Sioux Falls Live, so you said it in a post that I guess now that it's 4th of July is behind us, that we have
the
license to
calendar works
we have
now.
license to
Yeah.
talk about football now.
Well, I mean, it's media day next week.
Yeah.
You know, and all around the country. I mean, college football media days, and so that's really how it's been the last few years. You spend June kind of feeling like, well, it's not fully summer yet, because usually this summer it was hot through June, but a lot of times it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, so you're kind of waiting for summer to start. Then 4th of July weekend happens, and it's like, well, all right, no, that was fun.
Yeah.
But, you know, I also try to remind myself that just because from a work standpoint, you know, like it's still going to be summer till the end of September. You know, I mean, I over the last few years, especially as I've gotten older, I've tried to remind myself just because school starts doesn't mean summer's over. Just because football starts doesn't mean summer's over. I mean, sometimes it's still 75 degrees almost till November, you know.
Yeah.
And so last summer, you know, we made a real concerted effort to keep going to the lake into September, keep going to the zoo, keep going to Canaries games, keep going outside and enjoying the weather and fishing and doing all those things. And so I'm kind of trying to remind myself to do that because my work brain is kind of telling me, well, summer's over. It's get ready for college football, get ready for high school football, start putting your previews together. So it's kind of a little bit of a balancing act, but it's also, you know, one of my favorite times of year too. So I absolutely love the 4th of July. I had an absolute blast this weekend. Got the whole family together. It was awesome. And we're going to get to do that a few more times, but I'm also excited for Media Day next week and excited for practice starts this month. You know, the Jacks Yotes will be on the field this month, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Already had a couple articles cranked out there. One of them was, did you have a Missouri Valley Conference all? Was it a preseason poll or a players to watch
Just a
thing?
preseason poll.
Yeah. Was that yours or is there a...
That was mine.
Yeah.
They'll
is
come
there
out.
going to be a media
Yeah,
one?
it'll come out on Tuesday at Media Day.
I guess this is where we should, as a brand, he mentioned it just a second ago. A week from today, we're taping this on Tuesday at the Gateway Lounge, is Missouri Valley Football Conference Media Day. And to say that our operation at Sioux Falls Live is going to be a big part of it.
We're covering the hell out of it.
An understatement.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be probably the 2 TV stations in Sioux Falls, and I don't know who else, because Fargo used to eat up a lot of the oxygen, the North Dakota State team and media, for obvious reasons, and of course they're gone. I think their media day for Mountain West is maybe the same week.
Probably.
I don't know. But anyway, it's kind of...
We'll be doing a live show next Tuesday, 9 a.m. We'll be going live, talking to all the teams. You can see that on our live stream on Midwest Sports Plus. I'm assuming you'll see it on Sioux Falls Live. It'll also be on KSFL, our TV station. Yeah. And then obviously you'll be out there for content that can go to happy hour later. So people will be able to watch your stuff later. They'll be able to watch our stuff live. We're going to have a huge crew out there. We're going to talk to every team. We're really trying to make it a kind of a big blowout. And like I said, I'm looking forward to it because, you know, I'm not saying I'm not looking forward to talking to Dan Jackson and Matt Vitztham and Chase Mason and Charles Pierre and all those people, but we get to talk to them kind of whenever we want throughout the season. Yes. It's fun to get, you know, some of the other teams in there, especially the teams that are maybe in markets where they don't get a lot of coverage, or just teams that are kind of on the up and up, trying to turn the corner. I always enjoy talking to, you know, Murray State and Indiana State, you know, because they're always kind of feeling like we're the underdogs. What are we doing here, sort of, you know, and hearing how they're going about trying to turn the corner, you know, getting to talk to Brock Spack, who's been the longest tenured coach in the league, and now he's coming off, you know, going to the national championship game. So those parts of it are always really fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Because the other thing is, it's before the season. Nobody's lost a game yet. Nobody's got injured yet. Right. So everybody's in a good mood. Yes. You know?
Yeah. Everybody's undefeated.
Yeah. You talk to some of these coaches in a post-game press conference where they just lost or something. You don't always get the best. It's not the best time to converse with them necessarily. So these are always really fun.
Yeah, I'm glad we do it. I'm glad you prioritize it. That's your decision. We don't have to do any of that. We don't technically have to talk to any of those other teams. And you would know the consumer trends from having done this a couple times now. I hope it does well. I hope there are some people, Jackrabbit and Coyote fans certainly is our main audience here at Happy Hour and at Sioux Falls Live. And we understand that, like, you're still going to be most interested to hear what these guys like Charles Pierre, if he's there, or Vitztham, Chase Mason, Dan Jackson have to say, because it still is the first time they've talked about the 2026 season in general, but certainly for a long, long time. But we do hope there's some consumption of the other teams, the other your neighbors, the other people in your neighborhood here, and this will be the big chance to do that.
Well, and I hope people that there aren't as many of them, but people that are fans of Murray State, people that are fans of Northern Iowa, I hope they tune in too, because you're going to get to hear more from these guys on our show than you're probably going to hear throughout the season anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, just for a quick anecdote to that, everybody can take a Husker drink. But back in the day when I worked for a radio station in Lincoln, we'd go to Chicago for Big Ten Media Days. And for me, I had the same outlook as you did. It's like, I cover the Huskers year-round. We talk to these people all the time. We know what the storylines are. The fans do. And yet the metrics would show that they mostly just consumed the Husker stuff that we grabbed. And I get it. You want to? And as a fan, I'm the same way. It's like, I'll read... But I was still interested in meeting like Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern or Jerry Kill when he was at Minnesota and some of their players and hearing some of their stories. That's what it's supposed to be about. So that's what it will be about. And by the way, you mentioned it. There is a TV station that Forum Communications owns here in Sioux Falls. Maybe you've heard of it, KSFL TV. We've had some high school football and basketball games there for Midwest Sports Plus in the past year. But you can find it on channel 36 over the air if you got the antennas, or if you just have over the air digital TV, it's channel 36. If you have Midco, it's channel 616. And every day, Dom Izzo's show from Fargo is on from 9 to 11 on KSFL TV. But you're going to have the full day, full coverage. I don't know how long it's going to be, but starting at 9 a.m., you can
we'll
watch.
Be on.
It will be Matt Zimmer and Marcus Trexler and all of
We'll
their
try our
interviews.
best not to have a Burt Blyleven moment since we're on live TV. But
Yes. How'd that go again? I'm just kidding.
we
Just
got
go
to
ahead.
do this thing over.
Just go ahead and Google. Just go ahead and Google it. Okay, so what do you think is the biggest storyline?
I mean, NDSU not being there.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what everyone's going to talk about.
That was a pretty stupid question.
I mean, it's not because they're not there. So, I'm sure there will
Yeah.
be some people that, what are we talking about them? You know why. That's the big elephant in the room is, the 800-pound gorilla has moved on. I think, I don't know that it changes things for SDSU a whole lot. They beat them twice. I mean, they beat them several times, but they overcame them twice to win a national championship. Is it easier for SDSU now? Yes, it is. And I think, if anything, it puts some pressure on SDSU.
Absolutely.
Say, hey, you got to win a couple now. You don't even have the big boys in there anymore. But I still think, it's like, okay, the expectation is kind of the same. I think in the same breath, SDSU is not as intimidating to the rest of the league as North Dakota State was. So I think if you're Illinois State, if you're USD, if you're UND, getting the Bison out of the picture changes the landscape for you a little bit more. It feels even more wide open. That's not to say SDSU isn't the favorite. I think they are, at least in the Valley. You still got Montana State. But I think SDSU is a clear number one in the Valley right now. But none of those other teams in the Valley will regard SDSU in the same, geez, can we really beat those guys, as they did NDSU. Because NDSU won 11 of them, whatever it was, 9 in 10 years or whatever. I mean, I literally have lost track. They won so many of them. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to kind of hear. I don't know that any coach or player is going to come out and say, well, now we think we can win a national championship that the Bison are gone. But that is kind of, to a great degree, sort of how the thinking is. And by the same token, you and I have talked about this. We talked about this with the Fargo guys on their way out the door. How many teams does this realistically open the door for, though? Does this open the door for a Mercer? Does it open the door for a Duquesne?
No.
I don't think so. NDSU was always the favorite almost every year, but there were really legitimately only 5, 6, 7 teams that could entertain the thought of catching them, of beating them, of overtaking them to win a national championship. Well, that just means with NDSU out of the picture, whatever that number was is just one number smaller. I don't think right now necessarily it means the whole FCS goes, oh, now it's wide open. Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. The playoffs is 24 teams, and it's probably 8 more than we need at the most, or at the least. So...
Well, perfect example. You mentioned Mercer. I mean, they were the 6th or 7th best team in the country, at least according to rankings and their playoff seed. And USD went in there and just murdered them. Just housed them from the start. Just smacked them around. It was obvious from the kickoff in their place. And their coach moved on. I mean, he got another job. I think he got a MAC gig.
Did he?
And
that job's changed hands several times in recent years.
Yeah, and so that's all that's one example, but that's one example outside of the Missouri Valley and the Montanas where Are they really even that good down there? It's always kind of surprised me how they're not in the South.
It's always these teams that are in the 12 to 25 range of the national rankings. A SEMO, a Lehigh. It's like, okay, you're ranked 13th in the country. How good are you? I mean, one year Albany looked really good, and they made it to the semifinals, and the Jacks beat them 49-0 in the semifinals. Now granted, that Jacks team was one of the greatest teams of all time, but still, if even in the semifinals, when you're down to the Final Four and you're getting that, I mean, yeah. And then Albany went right back to mediocrity because their best players all went in the portal. So, I mean, that's why NDSU left. That's why Mike McFeely and Jeff Kolpak are saying, yeah, goodbye. We're not, thanks for the memories, but we're out of here. And if SDSU had 6 national championships instead of 2, they might feel the same way.
Yes.
And if they win a couple in the next couple of years, I mean, I've said this multiple times. I think SDSU fans, on the one hand, there is a little bit of jealousy that, NDSU is moving on and we're not going with, and the Dakota Marker rivalry is over. But at the same time, they haven't yet got sick of this because it's still pretty new to them. They've won 2 titles versus 10, whatever NDSU. And I think there's every Jacks fan, whether they'll admit it or not, are kind of like, hey, it'd be kind of fun to win a couple more, even if they're not quite as cool because we don't have to beat as many good teams to do it.
Right.
But if we're sitting here in the year 2030, which is only 4 years away, and they have 2 or 3 more, I think the voices will get a lot louder.
Yeah, I don't know if the attendance will dip, and you start to worry about just the financial support from the fans and interest that NDSU legitimately was the last few years. Well,
and especially if NDSU's move is really successful.
Yeah.
And you see that the Fargo Dome is full every week.
Yes.
And that fans are responding to playing in the Gateway Bowl or whatever, oh, hey, this is better than I mean, because my one argument in support of being FCS versus FBS is it's fun to have 4 or 5 extra games after the season rather than just the one.
Yeah.
But you do have a possibility of getting into the college football playoff. James Madison's already done it. And you have these bowl games. I was just saying to Mike Daly, who's here for your earlier segment, he asked if I'd heard anything, and it's like, well, no, but nobody heard anything about NDSU's move either. I mean, Mike McFeely was literally going like, nothing's happening, nothing's happening.
Like, I give up.
Yep, no one wants us. There's no conference openings. We're stuck here forever. Yeah. And then all of a sudden one day, like, we're going. And I expect the same thing to happen here. Justin Sell's not going to text me like, hey, guess what? We're thinking about it. Like, they keep that shit under wraps. They don't want to get it out. And that's fine. I understand it. Yeah. And if SCSU is half as good as NDSU was at keeping that stuff under wraps, we're just going to be sitting here going, this is great. Jacks are number 1 in the country. They're playing for the national. And then all of a sudden one day they're going to the Mountain West. See you later. Bye. Yeah. Or the MAC or, whatever ends up happening. And that could happen anytime. Mm-hmm. That could literally happen. It might be in the works right now, and we don't know it.
It might not be at all.
This could be their last year in the FCS. I don't think it will be, but it's plausible.
Everybody wonders, we don't need to talk exact dollars, although we do know NDSU had to pay $5 million just to move up to division to FBS, and then I think it was 17 million.
Well, Sac State's was more than NDSU's. I think NDSU was 10 and Sac State was. Yeah. Don't quote me.
So is the money there? Will the money be there? Will the money be there? How much will it cost? And will the money be there? Can you afford to operate? And once you get in, can you afford to operate an FBS program?
And then the Sac State situation proved that, because we kept saying like the door's closed. Nobody's looking for new schools. Well, then the Mountain West they just kind of figured like, oh, what if we it's the MAC in Sac State's case, like the door is always open if you're willing to give these schools enough money. Yeah. And then Sac State, on top of the money they're paying the team, like they basically were like, we'll do anything to get in.
We'll pay for your trip here.
Right.
Well, I mean,
and they're not even in the league permanently. It's basically like they're paying $20 million or whatever it is just to have a temporary home for a couple of years. A tryout, essentially. Yeah. I mean, so if Justin Sell called the Mountain West or the MAC sometime and said, hey, we got $25 million burning a hole in our pocket, will you let us in our league? They would. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know, if that money could be raised in that short a time, and B, if they even want to, if they want to allow themselves to be taken advantage of like that. Because in Sac State, they kind of, their president had sort of backed them into a corner by, we're going to do this no matter what. Well, okay, then, you know.
It's literally what happened. They did it no matter what.
Right.
None of it makes sense.
Yeah, it became the no matter what.
It all seems really stupid, but they will get some attention or the initial attention, and I don't know how will be fixated on how well Sac State does in the MAC, which until now was actually one of those old school conferences that still had made geographic footprint sense. Now it doesn't. But meanwhile, I think my guess is there's a lot more national interest, obviously, because in NDSU in the Mountain West, partly because the Mountain West is a much better, it's known as a better conference, certainly a higher level. Even though it's now totally watered down. I mean, for Boise State, San Diego State, they're gone. Colorado State, they're gone. But it still is a more legitimate league. And that's the thing with NDSU. Zach Borg and I talked about this last Tuesday when you weren't here. Is just it's not like NDSU is walking. Boise State, that's the ultimate brand from the Mountain West. They're all the new Pac-12. And so this is why people feel like NDSU has a chance to win that league right away, or certainly win 8 or 9 or 10 games. But you mentioned it earlier, coming back to this media day thing, where we are going to talk about the 800-pound gorilla not being there, or the elephant in the room gone, is what interest level are there from Jacks Yotes fans with NDSU's maiden voyage? How much are they going to be tuning in? I looked it up, by the way. Mountain West has this reputation for playing Friday night games. NDSU only has one of them. They are going to have some Saturday late night games, and I think that's when you're most likely as a Jackrabbit or Coyote fan, when your game's done that day at whatever it is, 8 or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock kickoff, to go, let's check in and see how that Bison thing is going.
Whether they're watching the games live or not, they're definitely going to be paying attention to the scores, how they're doing.
Yeah.
The question, I think, is, will they be rooting for them or not?
What do you think?
I think it's I don't want to say 50-50, but I think there will be a spectrum. You know, it's kind of like you always hear like Jacks fans like, oh, they need USD to beat NDSU or whatever. I'll never root for them. It's like, well, sometimes it makes sense to root for your rival. Do you want to root for them to fall on their face? I don't think so.
I think you should want NDSU to do well. If you're a Jackrabbit fan, even if you're not all in on it now, you're fine in the FCS. You want to win a couple more national titles. But if there's any shred of you that wants to attain that level of football,
that's the reasoned, analytical, what makes the more sense take.
Yeah.
But that's not what being a fan is.
Right. They're emotional. I get it.
And I'm different. I'm the kind of fan, and probably because I'm a sports writer and it's my job to be objective and analytic, I can be that as a fan too. Yeah. Like if it benefits me to root for the Packers to beat someone, I will root for the Packers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas there's some fans, no, I can't root for the Packers no matter what. It's like, hi, we're competing with the Eagles for the last wild card spot. You need the Packers to win that game. Some fans just can't do that. I think it makes more sense to want NDSU to do well. It validates all the other teams in the FCS in the Missouri Valley. It kind of validates, it makes recruiting easier, I think. I mean, it helps recruiting for NDSU too, but I mean, just if they go up to the Mountain West and go 5-7, then people are going to go, oh, geez, they weren't as good as we thought. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be one of the top 3 teams in the league, and I won't be surprised if they win it.
Me neither.
SDSU's last national championship team was like ranked in the top 20 in like the Massey ratings by the end of the year. I mean, they were literally a top 25 team in all of college football. That wasn't a fluke. But that was before the transfer portal and NIL and everything has kind of watered down the FCS quite a bit. So things are a little bit different now. So I think you want to root for them. I think you want them to be successful. I think you want them to represent where you came from, to represent our region, the Dakotas, But at the same time, if they do go up there and go 3-9, which again they're not gonna, but if they do, there will be plenty of Jacks fans that'll be going, hope you're having a good time.
Right.
We're playing for a national championship. Yeah. That's just what being a fan is.
I think they're secretly under their breaths or in the back of their minds hoping it goes well for NDSU, with a keen eye. They're also the guinea pig to see
Some
what it
are,
would be
some
like.
aren't.
Because if they do well, I think probably Jackrabbit fans will go, okay, I guess we could do it too.
Right.
But yes, you're right. If they do, but if it's going to be a hindsight 2020 thing, if they fall on their ass, it'll be, oh, you thought you were too good for us, and because of course there's enormous. I can't imagine the pomposity, the bombast of North Dakota State fans. I mean, people still think 30 years later Nebraska fans have their noses in the air, and they laugh at that because of winning 3 national titles in 4 years, 30 years ago, and some people still can't stand us. And they won 10. They won 10 in 14 years. Imagine how arrogant they are. Understandably arrogant. And so when you see arrogant people who are used to winning and used to being on top fall on their ass, whether it's in sports or in life, business, life, it is kind of something where you kind of laugh and get. It's the whole, what's the Freudenschein thing? Schadenfreude, whatever.
I don't know if that's pronounced, but
of
yeah.
seeing enjoying the misery of others. There will be that naturally, and I totally get it. And I try to as I go longer into my career in this particular business and medium. You and I are giving our informed opinions. It's you can't tell people how they should feel.
Right.
You can say yeah, we're doing that. We're saying you ought to. It would make sense for you
I'm not
want
doing that.
want
I'm
them to
saying
do
what
well.
what I think they're going to do, and I
Yeah.
think some of them are going to see it the level-headed way, and some of it are
Yeah.
going to, it's
I
no
just think
different than a Vikings-Packers rivalry. Even Twins-Yankees, that's not a rivalry, but you know how much Twins fans hate the Yankees for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
USD-SDSU, a lot of times I'll get Jacks fans will be like sending me tweets from USD fans, like, look how stupid these guys are. And I'm like, yeah, I get it, but like that's what being a fan is. They're not supposed to be rational about it. They hate you.
Yeah.
And you hate them.
It's
and
primal.
that's okay.
It's
yeah.
primal.
Like that's
Yeah.
I never even really get in the middle of it because I'm like, it isn't supposed to be rational.
Yeah.
It doesn't supposed to make sense. It is what it is, and that's great. That's why people watch our show. That's why they read our stuff. That's why they go to the games. And so, if anything, I think, even though it sometimes can be a sort of anti-intellectual, meat-headed sort of thing, I think you got to encourage that. That's what makes college football in particular, but all sports, fun. Why we do this.
Absolutely. I should ask the question, what about USD? Because I know there are Yotes. Obviously, we have plenty of people who listen and consume who are Yotes fans who continue to watch us having discussions about NDSU's big leap and will the Jackrabbits do it? When will they do it? And we're not really hardly ever including USD in the discussion. And, well, let's address that. Should we?
Well,
or is there a sense that there's a lot less money there and it's just going to be a lot harder to pull off in Vermilion?
I mean, it would be harder to pull off. They're in a smaller community. They haven't had as much success. They don't draw as many fans.
Not even close.
Right. We all know what the negatives are. Having said that, they have a very aggressive athletic director. They have recently, if you've been paying attention, they've been bringing in some money.
Yes.
They've been getting some donations. And that's not anything to sneeze at. I don't care what the crowds are like. If rich people are giving you money, that's a good thing.
That matters the most.
And here's what's interesting.
It is what matters most.
A couple weeks ago, I saw some dude. It showed up on my Twitter timeline. Some guy who I didn't follow, it just showed up in my timeline, was like, I heard a rumor that USD is going all in on FBS football, fully funded, blah, blah, doing it to the nines. And I kind of went, whoa. And then I thought, wait a minute, I bet he means San Diego because they're non-scholarship FCS. And I, went down the rabbit hole very briefly. Yes, he was talking about San Diego. But it got me thinking, what better move for John Schemmel to make than say, why do we have to sit and who anointed SDSU as, well, they're next in line. They automatically get to be at the front of the line to be the next one. That's not set in stone. There's nothing that says somebody else can't go before them.
Again, it's logical. It would make sense.
Right. They are probably the most prepared, the most attractive. But, we always talk about how SDSU's ahead of them. USD is the little brother or whatever phrase we're not supposed to use. But all those things are objectively true. But what better way to turn that on its head to kind of cut in front of the line? and say, we're not going to wait. We're going to if they can find someone who's just say, give us this much money and we can cut in front of the line, leave the Jacks in FCS. Who cares if we never won a national championship? Who cares if this, that, the other? We're just going to go. We're going to get into the MAC. We're going to get into the Mountain West, and we're going to be playing on national TV. We're going to be in the same conference. We're going to have the Dakota Marker rivalry with NDSU, while the Jacks are stuck back in FCS. Now, I don't know if that is even remotely feasible, but I mean,
yes, yeah. Hey, look, there is no requirement that you will have had to have ever won an FCS national championship. Missouri State certainly didn't.
Delaware, Sacramento State.
Yeah. There's also no requirement on how big your stadium is supposed to be. You can play FBS
or what your
football.
Attendance has been.
You can play FBS football in a 9,500 seat stadium. I am fairly confident of that. You could, if you only half fill it, you can still play. We've all seen the MAC games where there's 2,000 people in the crowd. You don't want that. It's not a great endorsement for your college. But anyway, I would certainly think that also maybe would get the fan. How about this?
Yeah. Well,
how much more interest will there be? How many more fans of USD will there be? There have been so many new Jackrabbit fans the last 10 years. So many people moving into Sioux Falls, for one, and they're naturally going to gravitate toward Jackrabbit football because they're competing for national titles, and we just saw the attendance at that stadium spike once they won their first national championship, where they can almost sell out 19,000 a few times a year, and their worst crowds are going to be 11 or 12. I wonder if you do.
I think if USD gave their fans the gift that I just theorized and said, "Hey, guess what? We're FBS and the Jacks aren't."
Yeah, they'll have more fans.
I think that place would be full for every football game.
Yeah, and more people might. And
I could be wrong. Maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe their fans are that apathetic.
I don't know about you, but all I've heard from USD fans my whole time that I've lived here, 13 years for me now, is we're the. Again, this is what they say. We're the academic school. We can't fill the Premier Center for those weekday Summit League tournament games because we're bankers and lawyers and businessmen. We have jobs. We're not on the farm.
Hear that.
I've heard that before. But in general, more generally, I know I have USD alumni friends who just say this. It just means it's like the SEC at SDSU. The sports mean more up there. Mm-hmm. More students go to the games. More alumni go to the games. There's more care. There's more of them that care than at USD. It was not as big of a deal, and in some cases still isn't as big of a deal for a USD student to want to walk on over to the Dakota Dome or the SCSC to go watch a game. It just doesn't mean as much to them.
Well, maybe that would change it.
That was why I was making that point. Is would that be something that could change it? I don't know. You could just go the old-fashioned route and themselves compete for a national title this year, which maybe they'll be able to and maybe they won't. They have a new head coach. They have a running back who was the rushing champion in the MVFC 2 years ago before he got hurt last year, and maybe they'll be really good this year. And if we want to look a little bit closer and be where our feet are right now in 2026, is how good is USD going to be just this year? I don't know. Where did you put them in your poll?
4th or 5th.
Okay.
But when I made my poll, I actually went through and picked a winner in every game. I didn't just go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I think they'll be this, they'll be
right.
that. Yeah.
And Youngstown State came out number 2 in my poll because they have an easier schedule. I think North Dakota is the second best team. Just looking at the rosters.
Yeah.
I was like, I think UND is the second best team in the league, but Youngstown came out number 2 in my actual picks of the games because their schedule's a little better. UND's got a tough schedule. So does USD. USD has a really tough schedule. USD is one of the tougher teams to handicap, because new coach, going to have a new quarterback. There's a lot of question marks. They brought in some good transfers, but, they're all tough to handicap because everyone's always bringing in a whole bunch of new guys, and it's going to come down to which coach does the best job of, stirring that drink and making chemistry out of it.
Travis Johansson was excellent at that last year, but he had the services of Aiden Bauman.
Even that took him a while.
It did.
Early in the season, their own fans were jumping off the bandwagon. We suck. We can barely beat Northern Colorado.
Yep.
And then they got hot and almost made a run. It did sort of make a run.
0-2, 2-3, then 5-4, then all of a sudden, boom, 9-4.
And SDSU looked like a national contender until Chase Mason got hurt.
Yeah.
Then they looked like they were not even going to make the playoffs. He comes back, and they look good again. I basically think, like I said, I do think with the number of returners they have, SDSU is the clear-cut favorite. Just with Chase Mason, the offensive line, the defense, the running back, wide receiver, tight end, all the skill they have. They just really don't have too many weaknesses. That doesn't mean they're a slam dunk to win the league, because injuries and the chemistry issues and everything we made out are there. But they're a clear-cut number one. They will be the choice, not just by me. When the poll comes out, they're going to be a clear-cut number one. But then after that, 2 through 6 is essentially a toss-up.
Yeah.
Like I said, I like North Dakota. Youngstown State has the Walter Payton Award winner coming back.
Yeah.
Southern Illinois is always good. Illinois State was the national runner-up last year. We're very nearly the national champion, but they lost their quarterback and their star wide receiver. USD, like we just said, new quarterback. That's the big question. Like, who's going to win that quarterback job, and how good is that guy going to be, and how quickly is he going to be good? If he comes in and is great, they could easily be the second-best team in the league. If that quarterback position is a problem, they will be the 6th best team in the league.
Yeah.
I think even if the quarterback stinks, they're still going to be better than those bottom 3. But, and I also think there's a really, really good chance that 1 through 6 all make the playoffs.
I do wonder how big of a leap UND takes, because they lost 5 of their 6 losses were by 5 or fewer points last year.
But,
a
that's,
lot of them,
but
they
that's
had
been
fourth quarter leads.
But that seems like it's been the case multiple times. They go 7-5 every year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that old Jeff Fisher joke. We're going to go 7-9 every year.
Yeah,
UND is going to go 7-5 every year.
Yeah.
But again, I think they are definitely a candidate. Especially, I think they're a team that could benefit more than the others from NDSU leaving. They're in their state. That I think affects their recruiting, their everything a little bit. It opens the door a little bit more for them. And then, another interesting question to me is, do any of those bottom 3 teams make a leap? Northern Iowa was a playoff team for years and years and years. And then in the last few years, they basically stopped trying, and now they're right there with Indiana State and Murray State as a bottom feeder.
They don't have the money, and people have lost interest.
Right.
Yeah.
Indiana State has never really had the money or the interest. They've had some good teams here and there, made the playoffs a couple times. Last year, obviously, that win over SDSU, which I don't want to say it was a fluke, but, they turned around a couple weeks later and lost to Murray State at home. So they weren't really a good football team.
Yeah.
Murray State, I like their coach, Jody Wright, I think is his name. Guy who coached in the NFL, coached under Nick Saban, seems very aware of exactly what he's gotten into. They've gotten better, but they haven't gotten better to where they're going to start
winning games.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a year they make it. It would be nice if one, if not all 3 of those teams at least were more competitive this year, because, there have been the last few years, I'd put USF and Augie up against those guys most of the time.
Sure. And I could give them free consultation right now at Murray State and Indiana State for this probably wouldn't cost you very much money if you just wanted to maybe help your recruiting just a little bit and to look more like a Division I football operation. For God's sakes, put a camera tower on the other side of your stadium, so when your games and highlights that people are watching, they can see a football stadium. They can see stands, whether they have people in them or not. They're actually, because what you're seeing now when you see highlights of Murray State,
empty grass
Indiana,
berm.
they don't have any seats on the other side of the stadium. Yeah, you see empty grass, and it's like most high school stadiums have seats on both sides, and I'm talking like smaller town stadiums. Yeah. So I just think that I'm kind of joking and being facetious, but that's one of the first things I think about when I think about Murray State and Indiana State and how big of a joke they are. Is that's what you see when you see their games. Which, by the way, you mentioned Mike Daly was here, which I should have mentioned earlier. That's our show tomorrow, Wednesday. Our Mike Daly show will be coming out. But we spent some time on him telling me about how big of a deal it was for him, and it came to life, of having a television show about South Dakota State football on every week. It was his idea, and he didn't want it to be called Jackrabbit Football Weekly. He wanted it to be the Mike Daly Show. People thought he was pretty self-absorbed by doing that, but he said this is what Nebraska does, Minnesota does it, North Dakota State does it, and presenting yourselves on TV as somewhat of a legitimate product was important, and it came to life pretty well.
I remember it being on KSFY with Gary Weckworth.
Yeah. It elevated the profile
Mike
of the
had a big old
school.
flop of hair, I remember, and big glasses, and I mean, I didn't watch it much because I was
Yeah.
a kid and didn't really care about Division II football. But I can remember watching parts of it and just
Yeah.
being like, okay, I guess SDSU's coach has his own show.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal back then.
It was all his
Yeah.
idea. So that's just part of a very fun chat. You've had some meetings with Mike before. You've done some interviews with him for stories, and what a life. He was a Fairmont, Minnesota kid, played at Augustana, coached at both Augie and SDSU early in his career as an assistant, and then rode the Don Morton train from NDSU to Tulsa, where there's an incredible Richard Nixon story the night before they played the #1 Miami Hurricanes. And then there was just the utter failure at Wisconsin. That sounded like it was was destined to fail. And
Well, it ushered in the Barry Alvarez era.
It ushered in the Barry Alvarez era, and meanwhile it ushered in the Mike Daly era, which led to John Stiegelmeier at SDSU. So wait for that tomorrow. All right, since didn't have a chance to talk to you last week, LeBron, Timberwolves. Nothing's happened yet in the last few days, but there seems to be a little more steam beyond our region of how much it would make sense if he really wants to win a title, considering some of the other teams he's considering. Also, what it would do for his legacy to not just, you don't even have to win a title in Minnesota. Just take him to the finals as the last chapter of his career. Anyway, what have you been thinking as you've been at least?
I think it's cool that that the Wolves are legitimately on his list of finalists. I think it was Saturday there was a report, maybe from Shams, that he's already basically made up his mind. He's going back to Cleveland. But it's been a couple days and that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
So I think the longer it goes, I think the better their chances are.
That's a good way of putting it.
I would kind of feel like he would weed them out pretty early if he didn't want to go there. How does he care that much about the legacy thing? Would he really want to go to Minneapolis?
Seems like a
what's
legacy
the
guy.
difference between Minneapolis and Cleveland? They're both cold weather Midwest cities.
The only thing is that's where he's from.
Right. But he's already done it twice.
Exactly.
He's
in the East. That would be the thing about Cleveland is you're in the East. It's an easier
You're in the
path.
Eastern time zone, but
No,
you're
but
not.
you have in the
Eastern Conference.
Much
Right,
easier
right.
path. You don't get banged up like the Spurs did, having to go through the Wolves and OKC once you get to the finals. The Knicks had the primrose path by having just an easier slate.
Yeah.
But anyway. You could argue the East did get better.
Giannis
free
going to
agency.
Miami.
Good point, Cordell. For sure.
Yep.
The Raptors getting Kawhi back.
I don't know. I guess I would say if you asked me to put odds on it, 25% chance.
Right.
But that, like I said, in itself, that's pretty cool. That there's a 25% chance that LeBron could come to Minnesota.
We all think about Dumb and Dumber.
You're telling me
guy
there's
like
a
you,
chance.
girl like you, and a guy like me. One in a million. You're telling me there's a chance.
Yeah.
By the way, Trent and I talked about this on our show last Thursday. And at the time, the Wolves are like, I don't know, 5th or 6th team down and like really long shot odds behind Golden State and Cleveland and Miami. But as you've said, I think the longer it goes on, maybe it increases. But I asked Chris Johnson what you'd think about this happening. Diehard Wolves fan, USF's head coach, always thinking of it from a coach's mind as well. And he says he fits perfectly into what they need to do if his ego is willing. LeBron is exactly what they need at that spot, power forward. They lose Julius Randle there. If LeBron was seriously looking for the best opportunity or fit, it would be the Wolves by a mile. That said, no thanks. He's more of a headache than he's worth, in my opinion. Of course, Chris Johnson would say that. You would think it'd be a headache as it's LeBron's show all the time. How much oxygen would that suck out of the locker room, out of everything?
Is he really that much of a diva? He doesn't really give that off to me.
I don't even know if it's first of all, no, I agree with you. B, maybe that's just what naturally comes with LeBron, is the traveling circus, and now every game people are going to talk
But that might be
about
another thing that works in the favor of him wanting to choose Minnesota.
Sure.
You don't have that huge media. I mean, ESPN probably going to tag along and everything, but the Minnesota media is smaller than almost every other place in the country, certainly LA and even Miami.
But I think the attention on the team, a lot of it is going to go toward him, which may or may not ruffle feathers with all these other guys who helped build this into what they've had.
Ant's still on the team. He's still Ant.
Well, this is going to take so much pressure off of Ant
Right, but also, I mean,
if he can.
When you think of the style of player LeBron is, I mean, wasn't the guy leading the league in assists?
Yes,
last year?
7. He has averaged 7 or more assists in like each of the last 10 years.
He doesn't give off, really. I have to make it about me all the time.
I'm not saying he makes it about him. It's just like if LeBron's on your team, it's about LeBron. But if he's a good teammate and people like him, he's a veteran.
If that's what it is, though, that it's just the circus that he attracts and it's not him.
Yeah.
Well, don't not have him on your team because it's something that he's not even doing.
I would agree with that. Yes, I don't think it would affect the locker room because it's a different world now.
I mean, I think almost every player in the NBA would love to play with LeBron.
Yeah, I would think
including
so.
Ant.
At this point,
you
yes.
know? I mean,
yeah.
Whatever opinions are out there about him on social media or whatever, I mean, if he's not the GOAT, he's top 3, 4, 5,
Right.
and everyone regards him that way.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a tremendous amount of respect around the league. What he's doing at the age, he'll be, 41 next year?
Yeah.
42?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still a Jordan guy when it comes to who's the GOAT.
Yeah.
But Jordan was washed at 38.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't start playing in the NBA until he was 21. LeBron started playing in the NBA and he was 18. He's 41, and he's still averaging 27 and 7.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I just feel like you don't say no to an opportunity like that.
Right. And he, by the way, he has a chance, with whoever he goes to, unless it's Cleveland or Miami, I guess. He would become the first player in NBA history to win titles with 4 different teams. No one's done that. If he wants to put more things in his basket when you have for the rest of our freaking eternity, MJ versus LeBron, that's another feather in his cap. He's done it. He's one of 3 who's done it with 3 different teams in the history. He'd be the only one with 4. And you have to make him the guy that would put not just the Timberwolves over the top, but all Minnesota sports. Period.
Well, what if he goes to Minnesota and they don't win one?
Well, that would be.
Or don't even get to the finals.
That would seem very fitting, right?
Right. It'd be a very Minnesota sports.
But we also said this.
Favre and the Vikings.
It wouldn't feel like if Favre would have won the Super Bowl or even taken them to the Super Bowl, there would still be a feeling of, oh, we needed that guy to do it. Where I don't think it would be that sort of feeling with LeBron.
I agree.
I would think.
Well, because LeBron didn't spend the first 20 years of his career playing for the Wolves
arch rival.
You know,
they're so bad they don't even really. They've been so bad they don't even really have an arch rival.
Yeah. Denver, I guess, but yeah.
Hey, speaking of the Vikings, I'm going to connect the Vikings to USA Soccer. You ready for this?
Sure.
Because I think I overheard you telling Cordell. There's a second of there was a sliver of me that thought just for fun, just because it happened last night, we start with USA's catastrophic choking loss to Belgium last night, knowing that you didn't watch much World Cup and actually missed 4 of the 5 USA games, 3 Canaries games and a plane flight back from California last night. But it's unavoidable. But here's what happened is they lose to Belgium, who's like the number 8 team in the world, and they're from Europe. Like America, obviously in the world of soccer, there's 211 national teams in soccer, and America's ranked in number 16. That's pretty high up there, but you expect better. You want to see growth, and we're not. You get to 16, and then you play a team from Europe, and you get your ass kicked. They are the Vikings in the sense that they're better than most teams in their league or the world. They do well, but then when they run into an actual really good team, as the stakes get higher, the playoffs, they crash and burn hard. I think of 41 Donut. I think of the year Kirk Cousins won the game in New Orleans. The next week, they just get murdered by San Francisco. The 14 wins 2 years ago, and then they get throttled 31-7. I think it was by Detroit in the playoffs.
I think that, comparing it to that, those couple teams, Kirk Cousins teams, even the Darnold team, that's an apt comparison.
Just falling hard, it seems like.
98, 09, even 17.
Yeah.
Those teams were, in 98, that was the best team in the NFL, and they lost. In 09, that was maybe the best team in the NFL.
I didn't put 09 in the mix.
Yeah.
I didn't put 98 in the mix.
Yeah.
I'd say this is most of the Vikings' existence.
Certainly their recent playoff teams. Yeah.
Take
paper champions.
Take 98 and 09 out
paper
of it because
contenders,
those are definitely their best teams since the 70 Super Bowls teams.
Right.
But yes, a lot of you get to the playoffs, you win a bunch of games,
and you get
then,
exposed.
But then just a bruise, like a black eye bruise. That's what. that game last night was. But you still weren't watching?
Nope.
Just can't get into it, huh?
Every time I'm like, oh, maybe I'll watch a game, and then I just don't.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it was something being out in San Francisco where there's people from all over the world that live there and visit there all the time, and this Fillmore Music Festival up and down, there's thousands of people, and there's one particular bar which is clearly like it was called Harry's, but it felt like an Irish pub. People from all over the world watching Mexico and England together. That's when it's fun. That's when you can get into it, when you're with a bunch of other people who are actually into it. But I don't think you never ventured to a sports bar here in Sioux Falls.
Once I went to the old Champs by the mall with some Argus folks back when the Argus was a real newspaper.
Yeah.
And watched some of the game, and I tried, man, but I just kept. Next thing I know,
I got it.
And we didn't really have smartphones back then. I don't think it was that long ago. But my friends, you watching? I'm like, they kept catching me.
Okay, oops, cut out for a second, but you and I were basically making our point about 50 minutes into this discussion today that we are not Sioux Falls' source for American or World Cup soccer analysis.
Nope.
It's just not our thing. We are both. I was a little bit more into it. As I was telling you, it was great to be in San Francisco where you're around people who deeply care about it. It's a good atmosphere. But I'm like you, and I think there's a lot of people watching this as well, where it's just kind of, that's what it takes for me to be engaged at all. It's just the way we grew up in this country with football and basketball and baseball, and
I do feel
it's
bad
tougher to get into the sports we don't watch regularly.
I do feel bad for genuine soccer fans when the day that Team USA loses. It's one thing for like soccer haters to be like, oh, soccer sucks, I'm not watching this. I think it's easy to ignore those people.
Yeah. But
what probably bothers them is the people who go, oh, now I can go back to not caring about soccer for 4 years. Yeah. Like, that's almost worse. Yeah. Like they kind of drop in and pretend to be fans for 2 weeks for the World Cup. And then when it's over, they go, meh, your sport actually sucks. I don't even care. I was just pretending for a couple weeks. Now I'm going back to ignoring you.
It was a thing to do.
I just ignore you all the time. I'm just not interested in it. And I'm not taunting anyone about it. It's just not my thing, and I never get excited about it. But I would be frustrated as a baseball fan if someone was like, oh, I dropped in to watch the World Series, and now I'm going back to not caring about it. Like, you don't really hear that much about, baseball, football, basketball, whatever. So, we've talked a lot here about, the please like my sport people, and it doesn't matter what the sport is. Right. That's just kind of a stinky cologne. Wash it off.
Yeah, that's you in baseball, right?
I'm not one of those people.
It would be.
That would be my sport.
It could be.
But I make a point to not be that guy.
Yeah, you don't try to convince people the nuances of baseball.
Or argue with them about why my sport's better than theirs. I do not play that game.
I'm like that with golf. I like watching golf almost every week on a Sunday afternoon if I'm not working at a baseball game or have something else going on or on vacation, whatever. If there's nothing to do, I'm going to watch it, but I'm not. If you don't, I get it. I get why you think golf might be a boring thing to watch as a television product. I'm not here to defend it. Right. By the way, here we are. It's like every week. The Twins still lounging around, a few games under 500 and a few games out of first place. And
we're almost done.
It just keeps on going. Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe the Twins will give us something to talk about next
Buxton
time.
Just went on the DL, so he's probably, right after getting named a starter in the All-Star game, he's probably not going to get to go. So
good times.
Awesome.
The story of his life.
Right.
Canaries all of a sudden out of nowhere swept Sioux City over the weekend, and Mike Hart, who's an all-star for the American Association, man, this guy's been a Canary for about 8 or 9 years. He made one of the most. Did you see this play the other night he made in Sioux City?
No, I thought you were just going to say he made the All-Star game.
He's playing first base, ground. There's one out, runner at third, or second or third. Ground ball behind the bag. He gets it about 15 feet behind the bag, races and dives on the bag to get the runner out at first, gets up and throws a dart to home plate for the runner that would have been the tying run, throws that guy out to end the game. Pretty damn good. He's a player worth going out to the birdcage to watch.
They're on the road for the next 2 weeks, so good timing.
A lot of home games later in July. That's it. I think we can wrap it up. Thank you for your patience today, for diligently waiting for me to finish with Mike Daly, who's, I think, a conversation you're going to enjoy here on Happy Hour tomorrow.
Well, we're not going to be able to do this next Tuesday because we're going to be at
That's right.
Valley Media Day. So, again, stay tuned for that on all of our formats Tuesday, 9 a.m., Missouri Valley Media Day. We'll be there.
Thanks, Gateway Lounge. Thanks, Cordell. Goodbye.
Why are you laughing?
That was a terrible outro.
You.
Casino around drinks?
Yes.